Okay, let's get into this. Today we're doing a deep dive into a really interesting source. It's a detailed script for an audio learning series. It's called Learn English Fast and Fun.
Right.
And the whole idea is to help people improve their English, like quickly, focusing on natural conversation, a bit of humor, and crucially practical stuff you actually use.
And what's interesting, I think, is the mission it lays out. The source material isn't just, another language lesson. It's trying to be a shortcut, trying to bypass the, let's be honest, often quite dry, rule-heavy way people usually learn languages.
Yeah, the traditional textbook approach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So our mission here in this deep dive is really to take this script apart, understand how it aims for that fast and fun promise,
Hmm.
and, pull out the core methods, the specific examples it uses that hopefully make it effective.
Right. And the source material makes it clear the script focuses on real-world English, things like ordering food, making friends.
Small talk, yeah.
Small talk, exactly. And also, something I think is super useful, it directly addresses common mistakes learners make. The whole pitch is that this focus gets you sounding more natural and faster. So we're basically looking at a designed learning experience here, meant to be engaging and immediately useful.
And a big part of that design, according to the source, is building everything around natural conversations. It seems to really normalize making mistakes.
Which is huge.
It is. It takes the fear out of it. And it supposedly injects, warmth and humor. So you're learning in contexts you'll actually find yourself in.
Okay, so how does it actually do that? Let's start with the first big section the source mentions. Ordering food like a pro. The setting is a cafe. Now, typically, a beginner might just say, like, I want coffee, very direct.
But the script immediately models something different. And this is where you see the method, right? It's not just giving you words. It models the polite way, the standard phrasing for that situation. The source points out it introduces things like, can I get a latte, please?
Or I'd like a cappuccino. Much more natural.
Exactly. It's teaching the social niceties, the code, alongside the actual request.
And then it brings up that question you hear everywhere.
Oh, yeah. For here or to go.
The classic.
Precisely. And the script, as the source describes it, gives the simple, standard answers to go, or maybe for here, thanks. The key insight here, I think, is how the script uses these functional chunks of language, phrases tied directly to getting something done.
Right. Makes sense.
And the source notes, it even goes a bit further in that cafe scene, covering things like asking for recommendations, maybe mentioning dietary needs. So it shows how complexity is built within that practical context. That scenario-based approach is definitely part of the FAST idea. You learn language, you can literally use that same day.
Okay, so from ordering coffee, which is pretty transactional, the script then shifts. According to the source, the next part is about making friends and small talk. Scene changes to a park, totally different vibe, and honestly, often much harder for learners, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. It tackles that big question, how do you start? Or just keep going, with a casual, open-ended chat. And the source says the script uses a very common starting point, asking about the weekend.
Right. So you might hear a character in the script, the learner, ask something like, how was your weekend? And then the other character, maybe the native speaker, gives a bit more detail. It was awesome. Went hiking. How about you? Something like that.
And what's really clever there, according to the source, isn't just the Q&A, it's modeling the flow. The native speaker adds detail, shows enthusiasm, and this is key models turning the question back. How about you?
Teaches you how to keep the ball rolling.
Exactly. Not just answer, but engage. Then the script shows how the learner responds. Maybe, mine was good, watched movies, and then extends it, maybe with the related follow-up like, seen any good movies lately?
So it's building the conversation step by step.
Yeah, and the source indicates this section covers hobbies, weather, even exchanging contact info, all within that relatable park setting. This clearly hits the fun aspect, the relationship building.
Okay, now here's where fun and fast might really come together in a useful way. The source talks about a section called Fixing Common Mistakes, and it says the script handles this playfully.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting pedagogical choice, isn't it? It basically says, look, mistakes happen. They're not failures. They're just part of learning.
Takes the stigma away.
Hopefully. And the source highlights specific examples of common errors and how the script corrects them. The reason this works, potentially, is that by tackling these common errors openly but gently, it helps learners spot them and fix them without feeling embarrassed, which should speed things up.
The source gives that classic example, correcting, I very like pizza.
Oh, yeah.
to the much more natural, I really like pizza, or even just I love pizza. That's such a common one.
It really is. And the source lists other good ones, targeting really foundational grammar points, like changing she is more tall.
To she is taller, the correct comparative.
Right, or fixing that direct translation mistake, I have 25 years, which you hear a lot from certain language backgrounds.
To the English way, I'm 25.
Yep, and correcting the missingses for the third person singular, like he go to school, becoming he goes to school. What's insightful is that the script seems to target these high-frequency, high-impact errors. Fixing them makes a big difference in how natural you sound. So the corrections are really valuable for that fast progress.
And based on the source, the script even has a specific bit on sounding more natural, apparently prompted by a listener question in the original series.
Yes, and the tips described sound incredibly practical for actual speaking. Tip 1, the source says, is super simple. Use contractions.
Like I'm instead of I am, it's instead of it is.
Exactly. Why? Because, well, native speakers use them constantly in conversation. Learning to use them makes you sound less formal, less stilted, much more fluent almost instantly.
Adds to that natural rhythm of spoken English. Okay, and the second tip mentioned using filler words like well or actually.
Yeah, this one might seem a bit counterintuitive, right? Because learners are often told, avoid fillers, speak clearly, but the source correctly points out that these little words, well, actually, they're a really important part of natural speech. They buy you a split second to think, they signal you're about to contribute something, and they make you sound less like you're reading from a script.
More human.
Precisely. The source shows how combining them works, giving the example, well, actually, I'm learning English. Just adding those two small words changes the whole feel of it, makes it sound much more like natural, spontaneous speech.
So these tips are directly aimed at that fast and fun goal. Small changes, big impact on sounding natural quickly.
Definitely seems that way.
Okay, so if we pull back a bit and look at the overall picture presented in the source, the script's whole method seems built on a few core ideas. Anchoring language in real, practical situations you'll encounter.
Check.
Directly but kindly tackling those common errors.
The playful correction idea.
And giving these really specific, actionable tips for sounding more natural.
Yeah, and the source keeps coming back to this foundation of natural conversations, making mistakes okay, and having that warmth and humor throughout. It's not just about grammar rules in isolation, it's about communication and context.
Right. It's like teaching the whole package.
And if you think about it from a learning design perspective, the ways the source describes it, the script structures progress around these real tasks. From the clear goal of ordering food successfully, using key phrases like, can I get, understanding, for here to go,
Right.
to that more nuanced skill of making small talk. Practicing how to start with, how was your weekend, and keep it going.
And then layering on those fixes for common problems like using very wrong or verb endings or adjective forms. It tries to boost accuracy and fluency together.
And adding those finishing touches, the naturalness tips like contractions and filler words, seems quite holistic.
It does. Which leads to a final thought, maybe something for you, the listener, to chew on. If this approach works, if normalizing mistakes, really making them part of the process, and using engaging, practical, everyday scenarios is the key to learning something like a language quickly and enjoyably.
Then what else could this apply to?
Exactly. What other skills or maybe areas of knowledge could you unlock faster and maybe have more fun doing it by focusing on applied practice in real-world contexts and really embracing the idea that messing up is just part of getting better?